Well, good evening and welcome to this edition of A Walk Down Memory Lane. I'm your host, Earl Baston, and joining me as co-host Dennis Brown. We are joined by Mike Watson, and we are hopefully going to be joined very soon by Clarence Nicky Saunders. And tonight, Dennis, we're going to be talking about the sport of track and field, taking us back in the day. Obviously, Mike, you've had a checkered career on the track and off the track. But first, why was the love of track? Because we know about your other favorite thing to do, and that's ride horses. But why were you so interested and so into the sport of track and field?
It's frozen.
Oh man, can you hear us, Mike? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the longest Mike's been on a screen and not talking.
Yeah, I see.
It's not present, Mike. You can hear us?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear nothing. I was buffering. Yeah,
Oh.
what happened there? Yeah, yes.
Okay, well, the question was why did you turn to the sport of track and field?
Well, I guess. The funny thing is when we attended East End Primary, we had a great coach there by the name of Jimmy Copeland. And one thing he was good at was finding out where each child's individual sport talent was. And of course, I was hoping mine was in football and cricket, like everybody else. To be honest with you, I didn't know much about running or see it as a viable sport until I entered primary school. But anyway, well, you know how primary school is. You run cross country and you have your inter-school competition in track and field. But anyway, I was directed towards running because we had so much talent at East End at that time. Matter of fact, Dennis, we was beating up the West. Burrs Island took licks by us in the inter-school football.
I went West End. Do not talk about Burrs Island. I went West End Primary School. That has nothing to do with me.
Anyway, I had a hard time making that squad. We had some top guys. Aki Smith, who played for Vasco for a period of time, I think. Troughton Smith, who was, a lot of St. George's coach guys. But anyway, we had good footballers, and I had a hard time making that squad, and but I was determined. And anyway, Copeland finally talked to my father about, listen, man, this guy's going to be a serious runner one day. We don't even want him get hurt playing football. So we're gonna let him focus on running because I had got 8th in the inter-school cross country. And my first year, I was only probably about 6 years old running against the 10-year-old, 11-year-olds. And he figured out right away that my talent was going to be running. And, so anyway, that's where I was directed. So once school sports came around and then they had the zones and inter-school, of course, I was pretty dominant in the 800 from a young age. So another guy, Johnny Brayman, that actually beat me on occasion in school. But I beat him, he beat me. And but I pursued it more than he did. So then I eventually got, as I got older and went into high school, St. George's Secondary at that time, I really, it's funny, you get in high school and you got these peer pressures that make you focus all over the place except where your real talent is. And I remember going through a little bit of that. My first year I ran, I think I did good in high school. Second year, something happened. I don't remember being too much involved in running and stuff. And then by my third year, I was rating the game. You know, matter of fact, St. George's Sac won the cross country, beat Robert Crawford eventually, especially when I was a senior. You know, we won the seniors. Mark Perry, who you remember as a runner, he won the junior, and Guy Ricciardo Fogo, cousin of mine, won the intermediate. So we were pretty dominant at St. George's Sac in the distance running area. And of course, we had Mike Woods, who had won May 24th. So he is one of our teachers. So we had a lot of running was real popular there, distance running. Alden Daniels also went there, who I think made the rest of the team before I did. But sooner or later, I was introduced or asked to come to the National Stadium by Clive Long and be a part of the program up there, the national program. And of course, after that, the rest was history. I was up and running, training with the elite people at about 14, 15 years old. And I broke the Bermuda record in the 800 when I was 15. I ran 156 in a heat in Quantico relays. And then, but the funny thing is I went there to run the 5,000 because I was considered long distance. And Long said, Watson, man, you know how he was.
Yep.
Watson, you didn't come out here to run one race. You're going to have to jump in, you know, something else. We're going to throw you in the 8, just give you a little warm up. But anyway, when I ran the 156 and came second in the heat, he said, Watson, we're going to forget about the 5,000 if you can place second. So I ran my tail off and broke the Bermuda record again. I ran 154 and I was just 15 years old. So I guess took off from there in terms of track and field and me becoming more of a middle distance runner instead of long distance. Yeah.
Right.
So, of course.
You see, Nick is trying to get back, but Dennis, you have another question for Mike?
Yeah,
when Nicky
Mike
comes in, I'm just going to bring him right in, okay?
Yes, okay. So, Mike, it's a pleasure to have you on. You're one of the many sporting legends that we had on the show over the last few months. So, how, Nicky, you can hear us?
Yeah, I'm just having a little problem because it's on my phone. I'm trying to get it on the computer.
Okay.
So I can hardly hear you. That's the only problem I'm having.
Okay.
And, you know, I have to hear Mr. Watson. That's my
a lot of stories for you.
I'm telling you.
A lot of stories about you.
But to tell you, Nicky, Mr. Watson has to hear you.
That's it. Unbelievable.
So I'm trying to get on the computer at the same time. So excuse me, I'm trying to go back and forth, see if I can get a better connection.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I can talk a little bit more about my history, how I ended up, going beyond.
We got a lot of questions for you, but I want to talk to Nicky right now. How you doing, Nick?
Well, listen, if this seems like the only way we could do it on the phone, but it's just a little awkward because I can hardly hear you guys.
Okay, so,
right, well, we'll do the best we can and making sure you can hear us.
Hopefully you can get on the computer. So it's a pleasure to actually see you, Nick. I ain't seen you for years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And I just want to tell Earl Basin that Nicky just wasn't a guy doing track and field.
I already know about his footballing talents.
Nicky and I played center back for Bermuda at National Stadium against Mexico.
You ain't telling me nothing new, Dennis. I already know what you mean.
One of the highlights of my football career.
Nicky could have went as far as he could have in football.
Anytime you played alongside Dennis Brown, you had arrived.
There you go.
Because if you're his second, you have to be good enough.
Hey, Nick, I got a big head now, man. I got a big head already, man.
I don't know if they know it.
What
an athlete in general. People don't know about the long jump prowess he had.
Oh, yeah. It's all come up on this show. It is all come up on this show about fantastic. He could have went the way you went, and you could have went the way he went.
Definitely.
I could have.
I always found out about our football players.
That could have done similar things, you know.
Yes.
It's just the heart and the determination, and then choices we make based on life and everything else.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
So Nicky, so when I was about 13, 14. Clive Long, because I was training up the stadium and all that I used to do a lot of stuff on the Glen Lake. Glen Lake had me under his wing. And at that time, Mr. Long told me that I needed to make a decision at that time whether I wanted to play football or whether I wanted to do track. He told me I couldn't do both. So I ended up choosing football because that year Somerset was going to be on a youth tour, so I just chose football. Did you encounter the same thing with Mr. Long, or you just made your decision to play or to do track?
No. I was a footballer through and through.
Right.
Yeah.
And occasionally we go up to the stadium. You compete during the inter.
Oh wow.
Looked like we lost him there.
The time I was playing for North Village. That's where I started out.
Oh boy.
And he chased after me. He chased me down alleyways. I want to see you, boy. For those who knew Mr. Long, that's how I want to see you.
No lie.
So I said, okay. One day I just went out, and it was the first Carifta I competed at in Bermuda.
Yes.
That's what sold me, because he told me I was good enough. I think I ended up in third place, but that's what did it for me. And the fact that I could travel all over the world and meet new and interesting people, and then I could get a scholarship from it, I was sold. I was sold right away.
Yeah.
Right.
But on the other side, I did have some football offers as well that I didn't know about till after the fact. So,
right. Yeah, we locked you in by then.
Sorry?
Yeah, we had locked you in by then.
Yeah, you had. I wasn't going anywhere after your first Carifta and a few trips. That's it. Because
chasing those little girls in Carifta games. Yeah,
it
was all love. It was all love after that.
I was the shy one that sat in the corner.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Now, but the funny thing is, once we all went and trained at the stadium, and we got that baptizing to Carifta, the other thing became very attractive to us, even though we liked other things. Of course, me with the horses. Clive had to pry me away from the horses. But, one of the big attractions. Yeah, that's right. One of the big attractions was that you could only mess it up for yourself. You didn't have to worry about team members stopping you from winning. You know what I mean?
That's the difference between the singular sports and those team sports.
That's right. So
once you got a little, you can rely on the other person's prowess or how they're feeling that day to get you through. But when it's an individual sport, you don't have a choice. You're either gonna make it or you're not.
Right.
Yeah. Well, what happens is you get out there, you win, or you get a medal, and in your mind, hey man, I could do this again real easy. But again, you're not got any other team members to mess you up. So the big attraction is to get back there the next year or in the next international meet. And that's one of the big attractions of a singular sport as opposed to a team sport.
But I think tell you, Mike, when I finished, I came out here, went to law school, came home. What was I doing? I was playing football for Devonshire Colts.
Yes.
trying to relive the old glory days because I loved it so much.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I was getting ready to
running against Damon Mings. Not what's Froggy's name? Damon
Simmons.
Well, I used to play with Damon.
Yes.
Right.
This time I'm on the field. I'm running after the ball against his son. I feel the hamstring go a little twitch. I go, you know what?
That's it.
Yeah. And the injuries that come along team sport. Yeah.
There's hamstrings that used to get up, not straight.
Yeah, exactly. That was it right there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Bermuda, we had such talent, before our time, Dennis and I and Mike. But even after, in football, in every sport you look at, we've had some talent. And if only some of these guys could have realized the talent they had by having that determination or been given the breaks. I mean, when I look at the football out here now, I'm always saying, Dennis, this is no lie. I say Dennis Brown fit in there any day. Lorenzo Simons will fit in there any day. I'm like, these guys don't know. They talk about Van Dyke. Well, I'm sorry, Dennis, but after playing with Lorenzo Simons,
I was just talking about him Sunday.
This guy could play in any league. And the other guy that I was disappointed that didn't get through was Andrew Bascom.
Right.
Because when I see these guys like Zola and that was Andrew.
Andrew, yep.
Bermudians don't give up. Don't give it away. You gotta fight. We have to fight because the talent is there. The talent's always been there.
Yeah, I remember Andrew. Man, that guy, he was like a machine on the field. I could have swore he could have been a good distance runner because that guy didn't run out of gas, and he was younger.
Funny. I'm gonna tell you a funny story. You said he should have been a good distance runner, right? Well, Mike, you probably don't know this, but in primary school, I was a cross country champion. And in high school. So on the second year, I decided I didn't feel like running. And, I went to work. So Mr. Marshall wasn't going to allow you not to run.
Right.
So I was coming. I said, okay, I don't feel like running. But then at halfway through the race, I said, let me run this race. So coming up towards the old National Stadium, here's Andrew Bascom. Now, Andrew's in third place, right?
Right.
So I'm catching him up. I catch him up. He says, come on, Nick, man. Let me have this one. You got so many and you're going to have other medals to give. I said, Mike, no way. One thing to say about Andrew Bascom, that guy was a true professional. I mean, I remember because I went to Central School.
Yeah.
After school, I'm walking home. Up the hill, Andrew's walking down the hill with a ball, and he'd be there all day, all night until he had to go in.
Yeah,
that's why I think he could have made it anywhere.
Right. The dedication, Once he got involved, the dedication to keep trying,
Quite a few Bermudians. I mean, if you go to Randy Horton era and all those guys, they could have made it out here too. It's difficult. Don't get me wrong, but I just look at the athletes today and I just shake my head and go,
But I've always said
guys that could play better than you. That would be hungry.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned earlier about a guy named Johnny Brinkman that used to beat me on occasion in primary school. So it's always guys that at the end of the day, it's about those who want to pursue it. You know what I mean? So that's the bottom line. Who wants to pursue it? And, individual sport is less fun sometimes when you participate. But at the end of the day, it's about who wants to pursue it, And,
What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we'll have more questions about your track and field days. We'll be right back.
No problem.
John Barrett & Son, Bermuda's foremost distributor of fine beverages, is bringing on the joyful festivities this winter with Barrett Stone Ginger Beer. We've extolled the virtues of this traditional Bermudian drink before. It's refreshing and spicy and wonderful in the kitchen. Google cooking with ginger beer and you'll be amazed by the diversity and wow factor of the recipes. As our good friend Bruce Barrett says, bubbly, tasty, full of spice, refreshing and exciting. When it hits your taste buds, mate, full flavor is igniting. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. Still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
And welcome back. Mike's just stepped out for a minute. Nikki, let me just ask you briefly, what would you consider your most memorable moment in your sport? And do you remember how everything materialized through the day?
Yeah, again, it would have to be the Commonwealth Games in 1990. Now, the Olympics in '88, that had a special meaning, but in 1990, it was just hilarious. I mean, the way we train, and the we, I mean myself, Jerry Swan, and Troy Douglas, the way we went about it, the jokes, the camaraderie.
Mhm.
And I can remember when we were we were just walking out to the high jump apron. All of a sudden, the crowd started. Well, first you heard Troy Douglas, because Troy, if you know Troy, you know Troy. That's all I'm going to say.
Salty
And he's
dog,
ready.
salty dog.
Salty, yeah. I'm not even going to go there because I don't know how he feels about that name anymore. But when he's ready, he can be a barrel of fun.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So he had the crowd all up saying, "That's the next Commonwealth high jump champion right there." And I kid you not, the whole crowd just up in roar. That was one of the things that I remember most.
Right.
Another thing I remembered was Jerry Swan, looking at Jerry and going, "I got this, I've got this." And him looking back at me as to say, "Yeah, I know," because the practice sessions had been going well.
Right.
And everything had been going well. We were on top of our game. So if any, that would be the one that I always remember and have fond memories for, because it was such a fantastic event. Not just because I won, but even the event in general. On the whole, it was just fantastic, And so
Mike, I'm sorry.
No, I was getting into another tangent, but go ahead. You asked another question.
Mike, same question to you.
Yeah.
What would be your standout? What would be your standout event, and do you remember everything and anything about it?
Well, yeah. 1980 Olympic boycott. By far my most outstanding achievement, because I placed fourth in that final, beating the best Kenyans in that 800 final, which was held in Franklin Field in Philadelphia, where they have the Pan Relays. They had a substitute meet for all the countries that boycotted the 80 Olympics, because obviously we didn't go to that. And that was probably, I was a third year in university, and I had run 148, but the time didn't reflect the real performance, because the guys I competed against and beat had run way faster than I had run. They had run in the 143, 144 area. And but it was pouring rain and windy, so it wasn't the best climate for us to be conducive for fast times. And the funny thing is, in that particular event, I was the aggressor. I took off with 300 meters to go, and they had to come and catch me. And I have that picture from Sports Illustrated to this day that signifies my achievement in that particular. Of course, 84 came, and I would have probably been as good, but circumstances led to me not being able to go. And 88, by the time 88 came, I finally made it to the Olympics. But once you hit that 30 mark, if you're not a full pro in the sport, which, remember, I worked from 9 to 5. I was the art supervisor at the Royal Gazette, and training whenever I could, like a true amateur. and the funny thing is, I may have been, I'm not sure, but I know I encouraged Brian and others. I said, "Listen, man," Troy included, "if you're going to do the sport, don't do it like I did it, man. Go full time, get involved in it full time. If you don't have to come back to Bermuda, that will be a big advantage, because you'll get better competition more often. You can stay in an elite environment and you'll do a lot better than actually trying to be what we call a true amateur, working from 9 to 5 and trying to be an elite athlete. That was difficult. I think my time in university really helped make me a lot quicker. And if I could have stayed in university 4 more years, I guess I would have been a lot faster. But thank God for Jerry Swan, because really Jerry was the one, in spite of the fact that I was living in Bermuda and not really pro, I still ran significant times. I mean, I ran 344 for 1500 and sub 150 for 800, which was pretty good to do living in Bermuda, and not getting that quality race. Of course, Clarence, you came along and we went out to these meets. We had a little circuit we used to go to on the East Coast before Clarence got real big, you guys. Then Clarence got too big for us. But and it's funny. I remember telling you, Clarence. I said, "Let me tell you something. You're gonna win an Olympic medal. You're gonna win something big." I wasn't sure what it was going to be. It ended up being Commonwealth, but I said, you know something? I hate to say it. When you come back to Bermuda, they're not going to give you your roses.
I remember
most you may get, you remember? I said the most you will get is a greeting at the airport, and that'll be the end of it, bro.
Well, I'm not going to say why it took them so long to pay me the money that was promised in 1990. I mean,
well, we had a different government there.
Norbert and his team did a great thing, and I appreciate it.
Yeah. But it was a different government too.
Something else behind that, and the reason why it happened when it happened, which leaves a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
One of the things I keep thinking about is, and maybe you guys could investigate this further. One of the problems with all Bermudian athletes, especially those who are not working, especially when you pass the age of 18, you have no pension. You have no contributions.
Yeah.
I think if the government makes you a standard athlete, whether it's in football or otherwise, there should be at least a minimum contribution to your pension, so that when you finish, you feel as if there's an appreciation there. There's something there for you at the end of the day. So nobody can say, well, you're just taking advantage. You can say, well, I contributed, because by competing for Bermuda, you are in fact working for
the country.
Bermuda.
It
does work out to be that way.
Yeah.
But that's just one of the things I had on my mind. And it might be far-fetched, and it might not even suit the conversation. But I think that, we've gone beyond the amateur status. It cannot go on anymore, because those amateurs are missing out on quite a bit. I mean, when I hear about our Olympic champion and what she's received and what she will be receiving, I applaud her. I think, well done to you. Because when I watched her perform, I have never seen in an Olympic Games an Olympic body of competitors so far behind. She totally
she is very dominant.
I don't have enough adjectives to describe what I felt when I saw her do it. A lot of it was jealousy that I I'm not gonna lie. You're like, why couldn't it have been me?
Yeah, but you couldn't help but admire it. You couldn't help admiring
her, her family, and for Bermuda.
Yeah.
What an occasion.
Yeah.
What an occasion. So I hope even for her that she's doing very well for herself financially, possibly through a lot of her sponsorships, that she still has that pension fund at the end of the day, because she is giving up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something she wants to do, but also Bermuda is benefiting as a result. I mean, look how proud we all were when she crossed that line. And I waited up. I watched it like a lot of you would have watched it in the wee hours in the morning. But we need to move away from, and I think Bermuda has. I haven't been at home for quite a while, but what I can see is that the coaches, both football and athletics are becoming more professional in their approach to things. So
Yeah,
going
yeah.
away and getting certified. That's
Yeah.
part of it. Now,
Yeah.
the other part is getting the athletes themselves at home to understand that the level of work required for home leagues is not the level of energy or work you're going to require to get outside. Now
Yeah.
we have access to every sport in the world through the wonders of my cell phone and the
Yeah.
computer.
Yeah.
We should
Yeah.
be able to find what we need. And I'm not saying you're not doing that, guys, because I'm just not there. And you know what? I'm jealous. I'm jealous that I'm not home and I can't help. But family has me out here, and this is where I have to be for them.
Yeah.
But I just think that the Project Bermuda, with the level of athleticism I've seen throughout the island, only means that we're going to be more and more upfront in some of these events where we wouldn't have been considered before.
Yeah, but Bermuda needs to mature when it comes to how athletes are treated. We used to use the saying back in the day that Bermuda is not a very sports-minded country. And we said that because some of the things you highlighted, at the end of your career, it seems like they look back at athletes and say, well, he did that because he enjoyed it. It was fun for him. But at the same time, Bermuda takes credit for what that athlete did to put Bermuda on the map. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, the athlete does walk away from whatever sport they're in with not much to show for it. And to be honest with you, as you said, if it's going to be any pension or any profit in their life, it's going to come from them getting a job everybody considers a job. They don't see athletics as a job.
Well, Mike,
unfortunately, it should be seen that way. Yeah.
When I finished athletics, track and field, I didn't have much to show for it. Unless you're the top 3 in the world, and I was in the top 10 in the world, you're not making the money.
Yeah.
So I was driving taxi. I was sweeping streets, Front Street after Harbor Nights. I remember I drove into it's out by Serpentine Road, just from Green Lantern. You go straight through. It's the wealthy area where the houses are.
Fairlands.
I was driving my cab about Fairlands to pick up a fare. Woman looked at me and said, "Aren't you Clarence Nicky Saunders?" And I said, "Yes, I am." She said, "What are you doing driving a cab?" I said, "I have to eat, and I have to put money in my pocket so I can do the things I'm doing. I want to do it, so this is what I have to do." And she thought it was hilarious. Not hilarious in a way that she was laughing at me, but she just couldn't believe that here I was, supposedly the celebrated athlete, but yet I was doing things that everybody else had to do.
Yeah.
And for my part, I'm like, well, you know what? I just have to do it because I have to survive.
Yeah.
I mean, there were loads of promises made to me, none kept. The Elite Athletes Fund, which came about as a result of not just my prowess, but everyone else's. And at the time it came out, I was there needing help. I got no help.
Let me clarify
when I wanted
that.
to go to Australia to get my knee operations, I needed a letter from the Bermuda government to say I was a sponsored athlete. I had the money for the surgery. I had the money to prove that I could stay in the country for as long as I needed to in order to recover from the surgery. And yet Bermuda didn't give me a letter to say I was a sponsored athlete. So, you know, I could have a lot of sour grapes. But you know what? It's water under the bridge. It's not going to bring anything back. I celebrate Bermuda. I celebrate Bermuda's achievements. I celebrate our athletes. I celebrate them here, the boys that are trying for football. I'm always trying to follow them, and I hear the names. I'm interested. I even went to the Bermuda government here and said, listen, we need to keep an eye on all of the Bermudians, not just the athletes, but all of the Bermudians that are out here, because guess what? They're still Bermudians, and they're going to need help out here. They think it's easy. It is not easy here, and nobody really cares.
Right, Clarence, I don't want to cut
idea.
you off.
Sorry?
I don't want to cut you off, but let me remind you of something, and this would be interesting for everybody to hear. I protested the very point you are talking about, and as a result of that protest, Brendan Roberts, who was then the director of youth and sports, I protested it publicly about government not assisting athletes, Bermudian athletes, with some sort of funding. Because remember when we used to travel to Canada, and they had a program where they had A, B, C, and pretty much like we do it now, and they were giving the athletes. So I brought that back home. And Jerry Swan and I pursued it with Brenton Roberts. And that's what started the Elite Athlete Fund we know today. And it started with $30,000, right, at that time. And
I didn't get
remember,
a penny.
yeah,
Not
remember,
one penny.
yeah, because it was quite new, and I didn't really benefit from it. And Clarence, you know, you may have been new in the game, but I know I was before you.
Oh yeah.
And maybe
You
the
got me
early
about
athletes
50
didn't.
years. It's okay.
Yeah, but eventually, you know, the funding did and continues to help athletes. But a lot of people don't know how that was initiated. But it was me, Jerry Swan, and Brenton Roberts, who was the director of youth. Of course, he acted upon our concerns.
Yeah.
And it exists today. But I'm saying all that to say this, that when I finished university, one of the things I done, because I was a marketing and advertising person, graphic artist, they call it today, but I also had marketing background, being the supervisor at the Gazette. And one of the things I realized is, you know something, I got to market myself. I got to find a way to get funding because Bermuda's not going to give me nothing. So I was pretty ingenious at that time and going out to companies with a total list of where I wanted to compete, how much it was going to cost and all that. And Clarence, if I'm not mistaken, I was the one that encouraged you and Brian. I think you got Belco, didn't you? And Brian got Telco or something. But these guys, because of who they were able to get even more than I got. But 27th Century Boutique, tools and equipment. I had mostly black businesses other than Applebee's, Burden, and Kemp supporting me. And to be quite honest with you, I had about 50 grand a year to help.
See, Mike, I didn't even have close to that. I think I had about 15.
Right.
And that was after Belco stepped in later.
That's
you know,
right.
I
Right. And I remember that.
It tough. Guys might say it was easy because they see the crown one they had at the end of the day, but it wasn't easy. You know.
The
but again, what under my bridge, I can't go back. I just look for the athletes of today to have the Louisiana. I mean, my saving grace, one of my saving graces are the Swans. And I include the whole family because Jerry Swan gave up his time, and that meant his family went without him.
Yeah.
You know, and his
we all rallied behind him
Sharon,
too.
You know, I appreciate them more than anything because now that I'm coaching a bit out here, I understand you are away from your family.
Yes. Exactly.
And you're trying to give instructions to somebody else's family. You know? And your family has to just hold on because they understand it's something you love, something that you can give to someone else, but it is a sacrifice for everyone.
Okay, I have a question for both of you.
Dennis, let's just take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, you can ask the question.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Right back.
All right.
We're spotlighting a Bermudian company who produces staple foods and other essential products that are integral to our Bermudian way of life and are surprisingly affordable. Bermuda's Best products started out in the late 90s with Bermuda's Best codfish, which definitely got your attention. Then came Bermuda's Best mayonnaise, matching the heavy hitters in flavor and true to the Bermuda Best formula, low in price. Further diversification has ensued, resulting in the inception of Bermuda's Best concentrated laundry detergent, a special feature this month. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. I'm still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
Welcome back. Dennis?
Yes, this is a question for both of you because over the years I've always thought that Bermuda in general doesn't take sports serious, and I've always had a serious problem with that. I could remember back in my day, 1980, 89, we had we were beating America. Like America came here. We beat America 1-0, and America actually paid for us to come to America to play them twice because they couldn't beat us. And you know what I mean? So what we have to learn here is that we have to make a true investment in our sportsmen and sportswomen. After that time, we went to America. America just went to another level. At that time, we were beating Mexico, we were beating America, we were beating Trinidad, we were beating all of them. But the thing to me is that we didn't really invest the money that was supposed to invest to go to another level. What do you guys, and the question for you guys is, what do you think has to happen in order for our sports to go to? Because we see that if our people are doing it full time, what Ms. Duffy did, you know what I mean, what could happen? And I always think that because we don't take sports serious, and I said this on Brian on Earl's show, and Brian was on there. Brian should not be working down the docks. Brian should have a job within government, putting back into sport. And I have a serious problem with that, and I've had that for a long time. But you know, what can the government do to assist in improving our sports and taking it to another level now? Because part-time doesn't beat full-time. What has to happen?
You want me to answer that first? Or you
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it's simple for me. Again, the country is not sports minded. The bottom line is when we set our budget, and that budget determines where the money goes, where the taxpayers' dollars go, right? Our problem is we've always looked at sports, don't put a lot of money towards that. You put the money towards other areas. Well, in my opinion, a lot of the money needs to go towards sports because you're developing your young people who are going to eventually become productive citizens. And the only way that's going to happen is if they're involved in areas where they can see a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. And that means money. And so in order for youth and sport to give its annual grants, it can't be no little 80,000 to track and field, a little 100,000, 200,000 to football or whatever. It needs to be major money. And I think the country will reap tremendous rewards if that happens. And that's the problem. The problem in sports is not giving enough money so that it's focused on, and the athletes, and more importantly, the youth become productive citizens and run over to sports instead of getting involved in a lot of nonsense we see them getting involved in. So I think that has a lot to do with it. When I look at the fact that Bermuda beat, and is the only country to beat Jamaica in Caribbean Games, and those countries, Bahamas, Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, have all developed. That's why they have developed, because they got serious. They said, we're going to load some money into track and field, and we're going to become a world power. And look what Jamaica is now today when it comes to track and field. Not only Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, Bahamas, all those countries to the south of us knew that they could be successful in that area, and just because they put money into it, They may have turned their back on cricket a bit, but they knew what the real talent was. So it leads to the other problem we have, and that is, and we was talking about it earlier, Clarence, how do you determine what is going to be that athlete's best sport? Because one of the problems this country have is the kids being encouraged to get involved in all sports. And I think that's good when you're young, but at some point you're going to have to specialize. And of course, Dennis, you mentioned that with Clive, how he tried to encourage you to specialize.
Yeah.
But that's what has to happen if you really want to develop individuals. When we look at Russia and we look at the Soviet countries back in the past, or we look at Europe, or we look at America, or one of the things they're good at is finding out where the athlete's real talent is. And that's what they pursue and become world class in. So there's two things: the government putting more money into it, and us being better at finding the individual's real talent. You know,
Nick?
that's my opinion.
I agree. In principle, I think that our government does have to put more money into the sport. They got to realize that even if they feel it may not lend itself to medals or podium positions, it is something that is needed for our community.
Yeah.
We need to show a confidence and a support for all the athletes. And it can't be based on your skin pigmentation. It has to be across the board for everyone. How do we do that? We have to solicit some of the exempt companies, some as Polly. So I'm going to call you Polly.
Polly, we all know him as Polly. We know him as Polly.
Thanks to Ross McCow. You can thank Ross McCow for that.
He should tell you about the schedule, but that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah. Well, I tell you this: when they call me Polly, I know they really know me well.
But like you said, we need to put more money in it, but also, you know, one of the things I often say is that I was born in Bermuda. I was made in Bermuda. Yeah. I was made in Bermuda on grass tracks. I was made in Bermuda from people who just had started out, just had a beginning, but had an idea that they wanted to help. So another thing we need is volunteers. Now, that's difficult in this day and age because everything costs money.
Yeah.
You know, I don't volunteer to coach because I just can't. You know, you're putting yourself out. So we need good people. We need, which we do have. I'm not saying we don't. And they are getting better educated in terms of the fields that they're going into, the sports that they're representing and coaching. But also, what I was getting at when I was saying I was made in Bermuda is my attitude. And that's the attitude of the athlete. That attitude transcends, I think, almost anything else. Because if you have a positive attitude, nowadays you will find you can get, because it is there. Because unlike your time, Mike, it has become a lot more prominent. I mean, come on. I don't know if it's true, but I've heard that Miss Duffy is making 85 grand for tourism. She had a 2 to 3 year contract. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Because she works hard. But you see, it's there.
Yeah.
Something's there. We now have to get our athletes in line mentally to go after it, to represent themselves well, first of all, because a lot of us don't. If you can't speak into a camera, nobody wants you unless you're some real superstar. And even then, you're going to be losing money. Yeah. So the athletes have to then go, okay, how can I move from here to there apart from more training? I need more money. Is government going to provide that? Hopefully, that's one of our things that can happen. 2, I need better training. Do I have that on the island? Now, more so than before, you have it on the island. So we don't need to go anywhere. I take Mike's point that we have to go out to compete against those people.
Yeah.
And sometimes live amongst them to see how they do it.
Yeah.
But we are getting there.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully, Flora Duffy has turned Bermuda's whole way of thinking around.
Yeah.
And the establishment, and that's all I will say on it, is going to have to put more money into the system. Because here we go. The talent is there. She's not the only one. I wasn't the only one. Dennis wasn't. Mike. We are not the only ones. There are others there, and we can all
Yeah.
tell you a story about the guy or the girl who was just as good.
Yeah.
I constantly tell people about a few Bermudian athletes, girls, two in particular, who were beat. One of them was beating the top Jamaican of her time.
Candy
Yeah.
Ford, and got to be Candy.
Yes, Candy Ford.
Candy.
Yeah.
Candy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Candy Ford
Yep.
was a phenom.
Yep.
Nobody knows about her. Okay, her ending, I think she got a little hurt and a little discouraged. But if you saw this girl run,
Unreal.
I mean,
Unreal.
poetry in motion.
Yep.
The other one's the 800-meter runner. What's her name?
Renee Ingham.
Huh?
Renee Ingham.
Vernay. You know, the
Yeah.
guys, you two guys, fellas, you probably don't know about her.
No, I don't know her.
I know
This
about it.
young lady
Yeah.
at 13 was running world-class times.
Mm.
Oh, you know, no,
Schools were
sorry.
calling
You're
for
talking
her.
about, sorry, you're talking about the sprinter Renika Bean.
This is how good
Yeah,
she
yep,
is.
yeah,
or
yeah,
what?
you're talking about the sprinter Renika Bean.
No. I'm talking about
held the
Renee
under-
too. Renee
Oh,
made
Renee,
four.
yeah,
Renika was
Renee,
good.
Renee
She
was
ran that
Renika was
good.
Griffin
later.
record.
Yeah, Renika
Now,
in
I
the
know she
100.
got
Yeah,
that from her dad joints because
yeah,
I
I'm sorry,
remember
you
her
did say
father
the
was a
800. You did say the
student,
800. Yeah, that's right.
That young lady who ran that 800 was this is what I'm saying, because
Yeah.
you're not gonna find that level of competitor in any population
Yeah.
so close together.
Mm.
They live in and amongst each other. In America pulls their best. But guess what? They have 300 something million people to pull from.
Yeah.
You know, they've got them. The genealogy is so mixed up that they get the best, the strongest, the most determined. Well, guess what? We can do that too. We do that here as well.
Yeah.
But we have to support them a little bit. But again, with that support is a responsibility.
Mm.
Now,
True.
a lot of our athletes, and again, I don't want to overstate it because I don't know personally the athletes now in Bermuda. Those I hear, I read, but I don't know them personally. But they have to give to get. Their commitment to their sport, to their art, to what they love, has to be beyond reproach. It has to be seen, because that's the only way they're going to make it, first of all. But in order to continue the gravy train that we're looking for, or to further this gravy train, we've got to train hard. We need to get back to our football teams when they were playing, when Dennis was playing, being so resolute and hard to beat that other countries stop and take notice. We're a population of 60,000 people.
Yeah.
Come on. My dad tells me stories about when Chelsea came to Bermuda and how they couldn't get through the Bermudians. I'm like, way back, he said, Nick, if you knew what we were like way back then, I said, well, Dad, you know what? In my time, they were the same.
Yeah.
I don't know about now. I don't know what the guys are like. But in my time, we had the offspring of the guys you played with following up and playing the same way, playing hard. But we were showing. Now Bermuda needs to show, the athletes need to show the commitment, they need to show the dedication, and Bermuda as a country needs to then embrace them and take it on. Because one of the things I realized from my Commonwealth victory wasn't that I won, it was the feeling that I can see it had in Bermuda.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I stepped off the plane, I felt like a king. And the people felt proud. I felt good, not because I won, but because I could see people celebrating. Not just me, but celebrating themselves because they'd come and say, I remember I used to beat you. Well, you never beat me, but I remember I used to beat you. Then you remember being on the field with me. It gave us a sense of pride. And that's what Mike's talking about. Put more money into the system, give our athletes the opportunity to show their prowess, and give Bermuda that sense of pride, because that's what's missing. I mean, the times are hard right now. We need something to smile about. And sports is the great leveler.
Yeah, the thing is, we can repeat this because when you think of the Irish greatest who came along and did the same thing that Vernay done. She won gold medals in Carifta in the 800 meters. And that wasn't long ago. So we're not talking about Bermudians, having a locked pro. We're talking that, Bermudians continue to excel and be good. We've been the powerhouse in the Caribbean of distance running for a while, but we haven't did nothing about actually putting money towards distance running to really be a world beater like Jamaica has done in the sprints.
Well, I know Jamaica got all the coaches, took them all to get qualified, all of them.
Yeah.
And that's
well, I know I sat in those courses with them, to be honest with you.
Even the good coaches they sent to get re-qualified.
Yeah.
So their system is tight.
That's right.
They're working off the same hymn sheet. There is differences in terms of the personalities and how they go about it, but it's the same hymn sheet.
Yeah.
And that's why they have such success.
And the country is ready and behind.
Celebrated.
Yeah, the country is ready and behind that. Yeah, that's important, Yeah.
Dennis, any final question? Because remember, I've got to jet in about 10 minutes. So.
Yeah,
you're not leaving, sir.
I gotta.
See, that's where you're.
I've got other commitments.
Look, my dad says, "A Rolling Stone got us no more. You're not gonna catch any hair on my top of my head. I can see what you're up to, Pop. I can see you're busy."
Yeah, man. It's because I think I would like to talk to you guys again because
definitely.
I think this is a good topic in relations to what we need to do to go to another level as a country, and just having words with the current minister. I think his on that same page that one. I think this is a minister who's going to get things done for sports in Bermuda. He's very passionate, just talking to him on numerous occasions, very passionate about, getting sports, on the map, utilizing that national, he's always talking about utilizing that national sports center for international events and stuff like that and dealing with our athletes. So, I have every confidence in the current minister right now to hopefully see, things get done for Bermuda athletes. But my last question to you guys has been, because it's been a pleasure. I have so many more questions to ask. So, what advice would you, Nikki, in both your disciplines, because I didn't even get to ask Nikki the fitness regime of what he needs to do to go to compete at a high level, especially in the high jump, because there's a lot of jumping. Mike does a lot of distance running. But what advice would you guys give to aspiring athletes in your disciplines so Nick, I think we have the young man parent chief in the high jump right now.
Yeah, he's doing triple jump now.
Going over to the triple
jump. Oh, wow.
That's there.
Oh,
it's
wow.
funny because he did contact me and I was going to help him 2 years ago. He was going to come over here to the UK, but I think he got hurt, so that was nicked.
Okay.
Yeah, you kept getting injured in the high jump. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the things we need to do is trust in our own.
Yes.
Now, what I mean by that is guys like myself, Mike, yourselves, when we talk about coaching athletes, we don't need a foreigner to tell us how to coach our athletes.
Yeah.
Because we all have the same amount of information. And one of the problems I see in Bermuda is that we always reach for the foreigner.
Yeah.
Even if
don't think we're good enough
than us in terms of the medals they won, that does not mean that they know more than us in terms of the sport. And I think yes, it's nice to use a celebrity to come in, put a gloss on whatever you're doing, but use the people who people can recognize, who sounds like me, who can tell the story about going on North Shore diving mussels. You know, let those of us who are accomplished enough and want to give. I mean, one of the problems I can remember is Clarence Parfitt wanted to come back. How
Yep.
could you not bring Clarence Parfitt back?
Yep.
He's
Yep.
now up there in Scotland developing their athletes when he
Yeah.
could have been at home developing ours.
Yep.
Clyde Best, they haven't given him a fair shake.
Yep.
Now, maybe that's my personal opinion, and I will say that.
We
That's my
should have.
personal opinion. I think even if he's not a coach, he has so much to offer in terms of liaison. You know, one time I was at university, when I first came out here to university, and I ran into an Indian guy, and we were introducing ourselves. I'm Nick from Bermuda. Bermuda! His eyes wide. He's younger than I am. He's in his 20s. I'm 30 now. Do you know Clyde Best? I'm like, sorry? Clyde Best? How you know? West Ham. He was fantastic. And the funny thing is, being Bermuda, I had just spoken to him before I got on the flight. And for me to hear how he was revered, how he is still revered,
Yeah.
and then to see that he doesn't have as much involvement in Bermuda as I think he could. It's kind of, we're losing it. We're not using our own. Clarence Hill should have had that gym years ago. Okay, listen, we're not all great characters. I may be in a couple of courses, a nice guy, but I may be rotten.
Yeah.
But I still have something to give. And we all have an opportunity to repent and move forward.
Yeah.
So let's trust in each other.
Yeah.
We have coaches. For the athletes, they really now, you're asking me about the athletes, that's the coaches, but the athletes really need to ask themselves the question, what do you want? Do you want a nickel and dime and be the star here? Because it's easy to be a big fish in a small pond. But that's the first thing. You've got to be that big fish in your small pond to get noticed. And that means work. Work. Now, sacrifice. My brother would tell stories about how he would go out, come back in at 3-4 in the morning. Well, I was doing sit-ups because I had something I had to prove to myself. I had something I needed to do. Now, I'm not telling them they have to get up at 4 o'clock and do sit-ups. But what I'm saying is your dedication has to be seen. And it has to be seen, especially amongst those who know you the best. Because then it will come out. It will come out in your performances, and people will then go, you know what? Let's help this young person. Let's give them opportunity, because look how hard they work. It's not always the person that has the most skills that gets it, The person who's willing to make the sacrifices to get there.
The other thing that is very important, especially I guess in all disciplines or sports, but it's very noticeable in my sport, especially of late. And it's one of the things that have always made me controversial in Bermuda, and that is my willingness to pursue middle distance, long distance running in the correct manner, as opposed to just being a distance runner as such. I say that because in Bermuda, there's two sides of the story that really needs to be clarified. In distance running in Bermuda, there's the road racing entity, and then there's the track and field. But really, in the world, there's no difference. In other words, road races are developed from track and field. That's why you have all these world record holders. Suddenly, these guys breaking the world records in marathons, suddenly they come from track and field. It's the only way you can do it. But in my time, it was always a big rift between me and them, because they saw me as the person that had a lot to say against road running, when they didn't recognize that I in fact did both, but I did it the correct way. Yeah, I came from track and field. That's what developed me to be superior on the roads. And you see, it's a norm today. So my thing to the youth, as Dennis, when you asked the question specifically about what would we tell the youth, today to do. Well, in my specific sport, I would tell them to, if you're going to pursue distance running, and especially in your younger years, matter of fact, no matter what, because I'm lately got my son thinking differently about, if you want to better yourself, you can't think like a recreational road runner. You have to think like how the elites do it, no matter what your level is, and that is to train yourself on the track. Learn the basics on the track and include mileage to do what you love on the roads, as opposed to just running miles and never developing. So that's the advice I would give the young people today. If you're going to do distance running, develop yourself first on the track. And if you're older and you want to develop yourself for the sake of your health or losing weight, and the track is not as important, still learn how to run, get your mechanics in order, learn how to train properly, how to strengthen yourself so that you don't get injuries, so that you can be the best runner you can be, even if you are going to be more recreational and mileage based. Because then you learn, instead of doing all your miles on the hard man-made surfaces which injure you, you learn to then do it on the softer surfaces, i.e. the grass, the sand, the parks, beaches, and you will last a lot longer, if not your whole life, pursuing running like I've survived so far. Thank God I haven't had the major industry, probably because I've been groomed the right way, and I still do that. I don't do all of my training on the road, although these days it's basically for health, So, and of course, walking has become a big thing with me, because I recognize I'm not going to swim, I'm not going to cycle, I ain't even attempting to be a Philadelphia.
No way.
I ain't got that type of time. So the alternative for me is to do race walking, which probably is a little harder than running, but it doesn't beat my joints up.
Mike.
Yeah.
I can't imagine you walking down the road switching those hips left, right.
Hey, man,
he does it.
He
does it.
I'm got it down like the South Americans.
Hey, and he does.
He does.
Hey, he looks just like those Mexicans.
I got it, man.
It's been a pleasure, you guys.
Yeah. Well, guys, listen. I'm going to tell you, I have to run, but I'm hoping that you guys can make yourself available again in 2 weeks' time. We could bring you back and obviously share more of your stories, because I think we've enjoyed the messages you guys have brought tonight, and would like to even have a wealth of knowledge of things that we can do here in this country, that you guys have experienced and others have experienced as well. So I want to wish you all the best this evening. And again, hopefully we can get you back on in 2 weeks' time and continue this walk down memory lane with Nikki Saunders and Mike Watson. Okay?
Well, listen, I want to thank you guys for including me. I mean, being out here in the UK, I often feel left out of the Bermudian scene. And I am. I mean, geographically I am. I try to keep pace. And I often now feel like I'm forgotten,
No,
and
you're
that's,
not, bro.
that's
No,
probably
you're not.
my ego.
No, you're
It's
not.
not a good
Every
thing,
day,
as my
man.
wife would tell me. It's not a good thing.
You're not forgotten, bro.
Because I always prided myself on being humble, but when I'm away from him, I'm missing him, and I'm feeling like I'm being forgotten. When I get these calls, I just come alive.
All right.
I come. Alive. My wife said to me, "Well, why are you making yourself look so pretty?" I said, but I gotta look presentable. Thank you very much.
Yes, Nick.
This guy feels
good
really
stuff, guys.
good today, man.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you
Nick.
very much, Earl. Thank you.
Appreciate you. All right.
You know what? I love you, buddy. I love you, man. You always make me smile. Always.
Have a good night.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a pleasure.